Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am talking about tabletop role-playing games and compressing combat time. So I've been thinking a lot recently about how long combat takes in tabletop role-playing games. It is a massive problem, and it's a problem because I've had a huge amount of joy attached to tabletop role-playing games for a long time. And one of the things that I'm really desiring right now is tabletop role-playing games that have combat that runs very quickly. And one of the things that I'm encountering as I'm looking for these tabletop role-playing games is not only do they not exist, but the concept of fast combat within tabletop role-playing games, the vast majority of designers don't even have any idea what that would mean. Okay, so a good example is Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds is a good tabletop role-playing game from the perspective of it's kind of an old school tabletop role-playing game. People think that combat within Savage World runs quickly, but the reality is any game that goes character by character, blow by blow, it doesn't matter. You can take out all the options, you can simplify the options. But the reality is, as soon as you add in any significant number of NPCs, it's going to run very slowly. So I have this strong desire for super fast combat in tabletop role-playing games. And not only am I not seeing this in games, I'm seeing that at the industry level, there's not even a concept of where this would land. So I believe that the evolution of tabletop role-playing games is going to happen when we get a rule set that is actually fast combat. Now, my original, and so that and that is going to be any size. So mass combat is mass combat. If you have more than 20 non-player characters, that's not what I'm talking about. But if you have 4 player characters and you have 10 goblins and 2 bugbears and a wormling, that's a standard combat. Now, it's a large one, right? But any standard combat that you would see in a Dungeons and Dragons game, that needs to run in 10 minutes. Whether the NPCs, the creatures, are between 1 and 19. Okay. Now, mass combat is a whole additional breakout section, and every game handles mass combat differently. I'm not having an issue with mass combat, but if you have a number of enemies between 1 and 19, that combat needs to run in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, okay? There is not a game on the market that can do this right now. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the reason why we need this is there are absolutely every game in the industry can run a non-combat scene in 10 minutes. Every single one. So the reality is, now, the reason why we're here with these very long combats is right now, the game is centered around combat that is, this weapon does this amount of damage. That has quickly started to go away. Like, one of the things that you're seeing that across every game now is they're just like, a sword does X, a dagger does X, and there is different kinds of daggers, and we're not going to do different stats if it's a serrated blade, right? So you are seeing a flattening of so you see these attempts to make combat faster, but it's not getting faster. It's getting like marginally faster, like 5 or 10% faster. But these combats can run an hour to 2 hours long, and shaving 5 or 10 or even 20% off that is not going to change our games, right? And what I'm saying is, I want to tell the story of a player character in 6 sessions, the life story. You know what I mean? 3 or 4 or 5 years of his life minimum. And right now, we don't have any tools that allow this. And one of the things is, since we are spending at the table 2 to 3 to 5 to 10 times more on combat than any other aspect of the game, what it's doing is it's determining who's playing. And the people who are playing are the people who are most interested in stabbing things, right? So, and that's a problem. We really need to get past this, because right now, Dungeons & Dragons is at 2 to 3 million active players, and in the 90s it was around 10 million active players, and the number where it should be today is 20 million players. So this has got to be solved. Now, I'm going to do my part, to solve this. But there's a lot of great writers out there. There's a lot of great tabletop role-playing game designers, and that includes Robin D. Laws and Fred Hicks and Monty Cook and Mike Merles and Chris Pramis, and the list goes on and on. Lewis Porter Jr. There's a ton of them, right? And I really want people to start thinking about, how do we make combat between a group of 4 player characters and 1 to 19 NPCs run in 10 minutes. Doesn't matter if there's 19, doesn't matter if there's 1 NPC, it runs in 10 minutes or less, right? And that allows us to get on with the game and keep moving, right? Now, people want system mastery in there, so this is going to be a tough nut to crack. But I really am convinced the evolution of tabletop role-playing games will begin when we can run any combat in 10 minutes or less. And we need to set this as a priority. And right now, it's not even a priority on anybody's plate that, is really out there thinking. Or if it is, here's one more issue. There are a few people where this is an issue, right? Where this is a concern of theirs, and it's all on the storytelling side, right? So in that you're seeing it in what are called storytelling games. Now, the reason why I feel that that's an issue and it's not really a solution is a lot of the storytelling games have 2 issues. One, many of them don't have a game master. In my opinion, that's not a tabletop role-playing game. That doesn't solve a solution for anybody. It doesn't get us there, right? We need a tabletop role-playing game that runs a combat in 10 minutes, because tabletop role-playing games are awesome and cool. We want to preserve them. I don't really know what these storytelling games are. They're just kind of this weird hybrid chimera beast. They're not interesting to me. I really want to make a tabletop role-playing game where you could do this. The other issue is a lot of the really skilled designers have made a lot of tabletop role-playing games that really have these too cool for school communities where they're like, we are happy to not have D&D hack and slashers at our table. We're going to have our super pristine artisanal game, and let's leave the masses over there. So that doesn't. They actually have a lot of design elements that I want in a tabletop role-playing game, but I want to bring their community in and have them embrace playing with the masses, playing with the majority of players, playing with hack and slashers, building games where a 10-minute combat works for your most crunchy rules lover, all the way down to your person who really just wants to do RP. And so that's the goal. The evolution of tabletop role-playing games will really begin when we have combats that run enemy NPCs from numbers of 1 to 19 in 10 minutes or less. Thank you.